Hi, I'm Mike Bushong, Group Vice President of Data Center here at Juniper Networks. Today I'm joined by Lee Wright, CTO of Infrastructure and Hybrid Cloud at Atos. Welcome, Lee.
Hi, Mike. Thank you.
So tell us a bit about Atos and what you do there.
Thank you. So Atos is a worldwide partner for Paralympic and the Olympic Games. We have about 111,000 employees over 69 countries. And we're number one in cybersecurity in Europe, high performance computing. And we're also a leader in workplace services.
Wow, so you do a lot. How do you cover so much as a CTO?
Yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging, yeah. It's a lot of different technologies, but I have a great team, Mike. I have a great team to help me out.
So let's stay on the people side. How do you work with a team when there's so much change in the space? Like, how do you overcome the inertia that typically bogs down large companies?
I think what we have to do is we have to really pick and choose and focus the training that we give to our digital natives and make sure that we become, from our client's perspective, to become a really trusted advisor. So within Atos, we have individuals that are going out into the customer base and really challenging and finding the real jobs to be done, focusing on that and making sure that we really delight them moving forward. So it's difficult, but when you've got a great team, you focus the training, you can move forward quite quickly.
Now, you used the word trusted advisor, so I want to kind of key in on that. This idea of providing advice and guidance to people, it's never been more important than today. When you look at just how much things are changing, how do you help people cope with change? When you're talking to like your customers and end users, how do you help them grapple with things like cloud, with things like hybrid and multi-cloud, AI ops, the whole DevOps and automation space? How do you help them sort of navigate that sea change?
Yeah, I think again it's around going into the customers and discussing their problems. So taking it up a level rather than talking necessarily about the technology. Of course, the technology is important, it's vital. Obviously, a secure digital foundation is absolutely vital. But you talk around the business problems, what business problems they have and what drives them to go towards public cloud. What is it? Is it a look to save money? Is it to optimize their processes, etc.? So rather than going in from a technical basis, you go in and discuss with them their issues and problems and then try and work out together the best approach, the best value propositions that we can offer from Atos's rich portfolio of services from the hybrid cloud and infrastructure business line. And that way, you can also build trust with that conversation. And as long as you come across and you're discussing at the right levels and with the right content, then that's how you help them move towards where they need to be.
Now, of course, you have technology right in your title, so it's hard to ignore the technology side. You talk about the business problems. The technology has to come in to at least be part of the solution. What technologies do you think are really exciting? What brings the most promise today?
Well, for me, I think what really excites me is the AI and machine learning elements that are coming in now into infrastructure. I mean, over the years, and I think we've discussed before, Mike, around in the past, it was more creating point automation for devices, for technology. And you had to keep the life cycle, you had to make sure that the actual playbooks were kept up to date and recent. And I think now when we've got this ability to get the rich telemetry from the network, so from a Juniper's perspective, the elements that we can bring in from Apstra, from Mist, all of that data that you can pull together and then make business decisions and using AI and ML with the virtual assistant of Marvis as well, which is absolutely brilliant from a Mist perspective. Bringing that into wider ecosystem of networking, I think is a really exciting move forward. Having the ability to query that large source, that single source of truth and the distributed data source is really, really powerful and useful from a customer's perspective.
So if we can make that technology happen, what are the obstacles that your customers are going to face in adopting it, right? Usually change is not, do we have the product? Do we have the technology? There's something bigger than that. Your company, manages change for, as its core business. What obstacles do we have to help people get past?
I think it's a mind change from the traditional way of doing operations. I mean, from an Atos perspective, we talked about the playbooks and the point-by-point automation, but it's also about the tooling landscape that we've traditionally used in networking. We deploy using automation, but then we manage it using business as usual tools, best in breed, but for a separate tool for performance monitoring, something for incident management, etc. And customers are used to that sort of approach to managing a network. And of course, you have the CMDB, which is the single source of truth, but that's sometimes out of date, etc. So you really have to change the mindset of the customer of moving away from that traditional way of managing infrastructure into a more of a holistic approach, using, as we've mentioned, AI and ML as a way, but also making sure that everything we deploy, from tool to infrastructure, API controllable and configurable, so that we can then bring together that as a consistent whole, right? So it's really changing people's mindsets from a customer perspective, but also from the operations team. It's very difficult to move and shift.
So look, you've reached a pretty crazy pinnacle in your career, right? The CTO job is huge. And it's a broad set of responsibility. Now you've left behind all these other people who are trying to climb up and follow you, right? What advice do you have for them? So as they march forward over the next couple of decades of their own change, how do you guide those folks forward so they can successfully navigate, not just the challenges within their companies, but even their careers?
For me, it's about having this fundamental curiosity and this thirst for knowledge. I often joke that every CTO is one PDF ahead of the person behind them, right? Because it's a constant way of learning. YouTube, PDFs, reading books, material, etc., blogs. It's really difficult to keep up to speed. But also, I think it's important to make sure that you have strong opinions, but make sure they're loosely held. So don't get bogged down by the ego. You're not necessarily always the smartest person in the room, but I think you need to do the best you can. And always remember that, it's nice to be important, but it's also more important to be nice, right? And within IT, I think we work in a very small community of people. And I think if you are, you need to be nice to people and respect them, and realize if you're talking and you're not listening, you're not learning. So always be mindful of that. Moving forward, because you never know when you're going to meet that person that you're working with again. So I think that's one of the most important messages for me. Keep curious, keep up to date with new technology, but make sure that you are nice and just don't let the ego get in the way, right? Because that is also, it's not a good thing when the ego kicks in.
Well, you led with team. I think we should close with team. Thanks, Lee. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.